Welcome to Inside Amusements, your number one podcast about yesterday, today, and tomorrow's amusements. With your hosts, Brian, Chris, and Eric. I'm Joe, the producer, and this is episode number 3, Kings Island, 50 Years of Memories. And now, here's Chris.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the episode number 3. Like Joe said, just wanted to get touch base on some news topics. Pantheon's open for past previews for pass holders. It opened on a cold March day, so it wasn't running as fast as it could, but I guess all the reviews that are coming out are pretty positive, so that's a good thing. The next topic here, Brian is going to very much enjoy. Racer is getting its red, white, and blue paint scheme back, so I'm sure we'll touch base on that again here later in the episode. And then lastly, Iron Gwazi is officially open to the public. I've seen nothing but positive reviews on that as well, so I can't wait to get to Busch Gardens, Tampa. But that is all for this trip around the news carousel.
All right. Hey, thanks, Chris. Well, in honor of Kings Island's 50th anniversary, we really wanted to dedicate this particular episode to talking about our personal memories of Kings Island. And to also talk about his memories of Kings Island, we have a very special guest co-host that's joining us in this episode. He has his own YouTube channel. He's been on multiple television shows, including Extreme Rides. He's a former ACE regional representative. He's the logistics coordinator of the Eyes of Freedom Traveling Memorial, honoring the United States Marines Lima Company out of Ohio. Let's go ahead and give a very special warm welcome to our show, Sean Flaharty.
Thank you for having me on. This is going to be exciting. You know, Kings Island's been a huge part of my life, and I do have a lot of memories. So let's do it.
All right. Well, you know what? Every adventure has a beginning, and each of us on this podcast today has a beginning with Kings Island. My adventure, it started back in 1977 at the age of 2. Pretty much the earliest memory was standing in line for the puppet show, the original Kings Island Theater, the big balloon tent. I was just enamored. I mean, I remember, I believe I was laying on my dad's shoulder. Somebody was holding me. I remember seeing that big, gigantic balloon and the air compressors next to it, or the big fan units keeping that thing up. And it's like, wow. I mean, you know, something so huge, and, you know, little 2-year-old kid. It's like, wow, it's just like something you can't forget. But yeah, that's my beginning at Kings Island. But yeah, this bunch of fun times.
Yeah, I can't say that I remember that. To be honest with you, my memory is not as good as it used to be. So, man, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, Brian, I think the first memory that I have of Kings Island was just my family getting season passes and surprising my brother and I with them on, I think it was one Easter, but I cannot remember the year. But being like, I was really young, so the only rides I could do were like the kid rides, you know? And I just kind of remember walking through the front gates and just being amazed with everything. You know, you walk right in and you're there on, was International Street, and the fountain is going and the music is playing and there's the Eiffel Tower right in front of you. And just as a little kid, just being like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is a special place. So I think that's probably one of my very first memories of ever going to Kings Island.
Yeah, we still get that feeling when we walk into the park, don't we?
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
I guess for me, my earliest memories of Kings Island is being up here in Columbus on the drive down 71 South. You have the bridge that goes over the Little Miami River, which we always call, we're going to go past the big hole in the ground, like as we were little kids driving down to Mason. And then it's just from that bridge on, you kind of knew how much closer you were getting to Kings Island, and then seeing everything, the tower, and the skyline and everything. But my earliest memory of anything like what I would ride or anything like that as a little kid was the what is it called? The Flying Dutchman, the swinging shoes.
Oh yeah.
That's my earliest remembrance of any type of ride that I would like a flat ride that I would ride, and it's just I'm so excited to know that I just found this out. I don't know how, but that it's still in operation at Kentucky Kingdom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
I actually
so
got to
cool.
ride. I got to ride that recently again. It was pretty fun.
That was actually my first ride at Kings Island. That was actually my first ride. And I've been going to the park since I think 74. It might be 75. I have pictures of my mom holding me, and I'm freaked out by the Banana Splits characters and stuff. And but most importantly for me, my parents got, I mean, not that this is too heavy or anything, but my parents got divorced when I was like 13, and my father would be the one that would like take us on cross country trips. And my mom, being a single mom, we knew, she really couldn't afford big cross country trips, so she would take my brother and I to Kings Island. And that's how I really kind of started sinking my teeth into that park and realizing it was an outlet for me. And those trips with my mom meant more to me than any other trip I probably have ever done. But then as I got older and got to work with the park because of the ACE regional rep thing, I got to kind of really learn a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So that park means the world to me, obviously. So
yeah, I think we share something together, Sean, because my parents also were divorced. And anytime we got to spend with my dad was going to Kings Island. So this was probably when I was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it was like every summer, it was like, we know we're going to get at least a couple of trips to Kings Island a summer. So that's how I became such infatuated with the roller coaster community. And I started at an early age, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mentioned in episode 1, I know that we kind of shared a little bit about who we are and the reason why we're doing this and why we love the parks and all that. And I just thought about, during those times, I recently posted a photo of my dad, and I know that you guys know this on my personal Facebook, and it was taken at Kings Island. It was in 1973, and he's standing with one of the characters just outside the main gate. And Brian had reminded me that characters used to come out and greet you, right? So that would have been the Hanna-Barbera, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so characters would come out and they would kind of greet you before you even walked past the gate. And great photo of my dad standing next to one of the characters. I don't remember who it was. And I was there, but I was in my mom's stomach at the time. I was not born yet. But my brother and sister were there. My cousins were there. And, I could just tell just from looking at the photo that my family thoroughly enjoyed just being at the park. And for many years, that's what we did every summer. We got season passes. We met up with our cousins, and we were there, open to close. It seemed like almost every day throughout the season.
Yeah. Speaking of the characters, I mean, yeah, Banana Splits, that would freak out any kid. I mean, I swear those guys were on acid or something. I mean, just their costumes and everything. They're just like really off the wall. But I think they kind of phased out in the mid to late 70s. Because I really don't remember them too much at the park.
It's funny. It's kind of like the first Ronald McDonald, right?
Yeah.
If you ever seen that photo,
kids go running away. But I think my favorite character that walked around was Captain Caveman.
Oh yeah.
One, he hardly was ever out, but it was just his outfit was just
dead on.
It was dead on. It was crazy. None of just a big ball of hair.
He was Captain Caveman for
Caveman.
Oh man! Back when I had long hair, because I was a metalhead, still am. But when my hair was really straightened down and all that stuff, people used to call me Captain Caveman. My friends, when I'd go to the park, like, oh look, they have a character based on you, and I'd just be like, But,
and then you pull out your club and you hit them on the top.
Yeah.
Crack.
Good stuff, man. So I don't remember much of like the characters from when I was a kid. Kind of have vivid, not so vivid memories of that. But it seems like I've seen like Scooby-Doo, right? Scooby-Doo walked around as well, and kind of the whole cast of the Hanna-Barbera. But
let's see, Huckleberry Hound.
He was my favorite. Huckleberry Hound. Yeah.
Quick Draw McGraw.
Flintstones.
Oh, yeah, Flintstones.
Huckleberry Hound. Was he blue?
Yeah.
Who was the blue guy? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's where the blue ice cream came from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A lot of people think it started with the Smurfs, but it was actually Huckleberry Hound ice cream.
Oh, see,
when it started. Yeah.
I'm learning.
Didn't know that.
And it's like, it's lot of people forget about Huckleberry Hound. I don't know why. He was out. I mean, there was a lot of things themed to him too. Yeah.
The characters I remember the most are the ones that my brother and I were terrified of, which was the I don't know what they're called, but the guys from Star Trek.
Klingons.
Klingons, yeah.
Oh,
And they come out like late at night, and I just remember my brother and I being like, no, we don't want anything to do with y'all right now.
So that's Paramount, of course.
the Paramount ears.
Yep.
I'm sure. Maybe I have it uploaded. I don't think I do, but I know I have some of those old Paramount commercials where they show like the Klingons riding the coasters and stuff, and we all know that did not happen on a normal day. Come on. I mean,
But
things would fly
actually, some characters did ride the coaster. A buddy of mine who I won't name names, but he was Yogi Bear for a while. Let's just say he rode Scooby-Doo coaster when it was Beastie then,
right.
and did some mischievous things. But
Who are we talking about, Brian?
I can't say his name, yeah. But let's just say there is a season pass with with Yogi Bear on it. Yogi has his own season pass somewhere, so I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of that, and we'll share it with everybody. But
Hey, boo boo.
yeah, he told me some crazy stories of what they used to do back then.
Going back to the Klingons, I remember when I was younger, sitting in International Street restaurant, eating my meal as a kid, and then these Klingons just walk up right behind me, and then just literally, I was probably, I don't know how old I was then, but I just was freaked out as well because they were standing right behind me, just not talking, just staring at us eat.
So their makeup must have been really done really well, right?
Yes.
I mean, they did a good job with that.
There was a very, very hot day in, I don't know, 95, somewhere around there, and I was watching a Klingon walking back to like one of the employee entrances, just looking like he had been defeated. Like the makeup was running, like he had a day, and I was like, man, imagine what those people go through on those super hot days, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a friend of mine I went to high school with, she said she was a Klingon up there for a little while. And
that's the best quote I've heard all week, by the way. I don't know. I'm not even a Star Trek fan, but sorry.
I would just have to high five you right now, Brian.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You did say friend. Sorry. Never mind. I misheard.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Captain Caveman was my favorite. I mean, Jabberjaws was one of my other favorites. Most people don't remember Jabberjaws. I guess he was kind of based off Curly Stew, one of the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
You know, Jabberjaw.
Yeah. You do that so well.
But yeah, it's a shame. I really wish they could bring Hanna-Barbera back, but I understand times change. We progressed into a Nick universe, then into the Peanuts gang. So,
well, on that note, from our own personal experiences, without any sort of political or any kind of debate, but what is your favorite the favorite part of Kings Island? Like the Hanna-Barbera, the Paramount. Like what season was kind of your favorite?
Well,
not season. What do you call it? Not season.
I know this is probably controversial, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the Paramount years, and it wasn't so much.
Amen, brother.
It was good, but there was definitely instances where I think they were trying to put the story ahead of the ride, obviously, because of studio type theming and all that, and didn't necessarily translate as good as they thought it would, or decent as they thought it would. So I love the Cedar Fair era and the original era far more than the Paramount eras, but Paramount eras did bring a lot of really cool stuff. So
yeah, I would have to agree.
Yeah, I'll say that I'm definitely a fan of the Cedar Fair era of Kings Island and the original, of course. The only thing that really kind of grinds my gears about the Paramount era is that, like we've talked about in I think a previous episode, but was the removal of that antique ride for Backlot Stunt Coaster. That was my all-time favorite area of that park until that coaster was there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the Flying Eagles, that was by far my favorite ride at that park. And we had a going away party for it and all that stuff. When they put Italian Job in, we were like, oh, they didn't need to take out the Flying Eagles for the Italian Job. And then they ended up putting that basketball game there instead. But hey, you can go to Carowinds and ride it. So still operating.
I did
Hopefully,
love the Flying Eagles. I totally remember that, doing the
snapping and all that. Oh yeah. I still love to go. If you go to Knoebels, go ride theirs. You can snap like crazy on theirs.
Hopefully one day it'll be back. I know from some internal sources that the park does try to get it back. They have been working trying to get it back, but it'll be nice if they can. But yeah, it's that thing, you could just snap the heck out of it. And I mean, I've seen people take those things sideways before.
Oh yeah. Todd Bills was this skinny kid. He lives down in Florida now, but he used to snap so violently on those that he would scare people out of line. And there would be parents that are like, the tub is hitting the ground. It wasn't hitting the ground, but they would take off running. I mean,
Just
it was almost
noise.
every time.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So,
Some of you may not know that we have someone that works behind the scenes that was just telling us a story. Laura, she has been telling us stories about how well she could whip those things.
Yeah, so that's essentially just positioning it right to where the tub sort of is turned right from the wind coming at you, and then you quickly kind of go the other direction, right?
Without sounding like a total surfer dude, you feel the groove.
Okay.
And then once you feel that groove, it just amplifies. And then you can snap, at least on the Kings Island and Knoebels one, you can snap so violently that it'll also snap on the top part of the arc. And then it gets kind of scary. You can flip your tub 360 sometimes, every once in a while. And Kings Island used to encourage, like they do at Carowinds. The Larson models, they don't encourage those. Snapping on those, but those original rides that like the one that was at Kings Island are very important.
It was just a very natural thing to do that whenever you got on that ride.
Oh yeah. I've gotten yelled at a couple of times.
I can't say I remember any of my friends or anybody telling me how to do it. You just instinctively, it was just like, oh, this will do this.
Yep. And once you get in the groove, it literally becomes addicting. And then the next morning you'd have what everybody refer to as flyer back, because you're like, oh man, why is my back so sore? And,
I still have flyer back.
Oh.
See, Sean, it's interesting you say that, because I remember when they used to not really care if you did it.
Yeah.
Right. But then like in later years, we'd be going and snapping them, and they'd instinctively come on the intercom like, please do not snap the wire. And you're like, really? Come on, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, so some parks are really strict against it. Like if they have a Larson model, like Kings Island's Larson, I mean, you can snap them, but they'll. I know people that are banned from that ride because of that. But you can. I mean, Kings Island, depending on the ride operator, but like, I mean, Don Helbig and I mean, we kind of bonded through that ride for years. We would just ride that thing over and over, and so every once in a while you get this ride operator and be like, that doesn't look safe. And I'm like, well, the ride is designed to do that, so every once in a while you get a kind of crazy ride operator.
Well, for those watching the video on YouTube, I just want to point out, Sean has great eye to camera etiquette.
Sorry.
You got that down. It's like, we clearly do not know what we're doing here.
No, I've done enough.
That's an inspiration.
Camera things to, just, and the vlogging thing. I'm used to looking in a lens, so
that's great. I wish I do it more. I got a weird angle here. So yeah, I guess I'll just jump in here real quick in regards to the Paramount. I think all of you kind of know this, Sean. I don't think you know this, but my memory from Paramount days is probably my best memory would have been the Titanic on tour exhibit. And Sean, I'd love to hear what you know about that, or if you experienced that. But
I didn't experience the actual attraction, but I went to the park a few times while I was there. So I saw
the big tent.
A lot, yeah, like the signs out front and the banners and all that stuff, and then inside. But I never took the time, mainly because I was with friends that said, I'm sorry, but I don't want to go see the history of a sinking ship. That doesn't seem fun. And I'm like, what? Come on, let's go. Let's take a break from the coasters. And nobody ever wanted to do it.
Well, I can tell you. So that was in the summer of '98, and I was actually one of the cast members in the Titanic on tour. So, and it was just dumb luck, quite honestly. So at the time, I worked in radio, but I also worked for a production company, and the production company essentially was hired to build sets and stuff for kind of national bands and different exhibits that came in. And So we, the team I was on, we basically built the tent, kind of, where all this exhibit was held in. And my supervisor at the time told me that somebody from Paramount was talking to him about they needed a cast member to join. And he reached out to me because he knew I worked in radio, and I guess he just thought that I could probably do this. But truth is, I never did anything like this. An actual kind of everything I've ever done has been behind a microphone by myself in a room, nobody else around generally. But anyway, so I said, what the heck? So I actually auditioned for it. And to my surprise, I got the part. And it turned out to be one of the coolest experiences ever. It was for about, I think, 8 or 9 weeks. And I was the cast member. I was a sailor from the Titanic, and got to interact with people as they walked through the exhibit. We had to be in character. My costume was actually worn in the movie by one of the actors, one of the sailors in the movie, and it was tailored fit to fit me and stuff like that. But man, it was good times. I met some cool people, and I still have all that. I've got the ship-shaped crew protocol, which is kind of like our different character descriptions and things like that. And I got the laminate still, and I even have the paycheck stub from Paramount for paying me for the gig. So
nice.
That was a fun one.
That's really cool, man. They had. What were some of the other kind of things they brought in like that, or was that one of the only main ones? So, like attractions like that.
I don't
during that time.
Wow, I don't recall, because this was actually it was like the movie props. It was like the actual sort of sets and stuff from the movie. On that sort of level, I nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
That really came through like that.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the car, right, in the back seat of the car that was on the ship. I laid on the couch. You got to do it, right?
Did they draw you like one of them French women?
Well, maybe. Yeah. I will never tell.
TMI, Brian.
Of course, I just realized we finally identified a piece of Kings Island history I have. I actually have a sign. You can't see it in frame, but it's hanging on my shelf here. It's the sign from the Titanic exhibit.
Oh.
It says use of cameras or video recorders of any type is strictly prohibited in this area.
Yeah, that's
for the longest time I was trying to figure out where it came from, because it came from the park, because somebody from the park gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to identify. Then I talked with Joe, and he looked at his stuff, and the color schemes are exactly the Titanic color schemes.
Yeah, it absolutely
is. And I
is
remember seeing a sign like that when I went to the exhibit, because you weren't allowed to record anything. So that's why you don't see anything online about it, hardly.
Yeah.
Nobody was able to take pictures or anything.
And that was really before the technology with cell phones, so I couldn't take any photos.
Yeah, that was, that was really before smartphones, and
that's when you had to have disposable cameras.
I think 98, we probably had the Nokias playing Centipede or Worm or whatever on it.
Well, I
had one of those dial cameras. The film was like in a circle. You know what I'm talking about? Like
a disc camera.
Disc camera. Okay.
Yeah. I actually saw one of those at the antique mall the other day.
So now that we're talking about like our favorite things that have been at the park, is there any type of things you'd like to see in the future of Kings Island?
Ooh,
good question.
You know what? For me, as far as a coaster goes, I think a multi-launch would do well. Like a solid multi-launch. More of an aggressive type ride than, say, Italian Job. Even though that's multi-launch. I don't know. Maybe some older rides, maybe a couple new flats. There's some insane flat rides coming out. And usually, you have to have something high capacity and stuff like that. I wish parks in general would start going towards more of the high capacity stuff. Now they kind of got away from that. And a lot of that has to do with, selling cheat line passes and all that stuff. I understand. But, at the same time, I don't know. Kings Island's just just expanded on a kind of like an emotional level, so to speak, and like visual level. So much so that it's such a it almost doesn't seem like the same park in ways, but sometimes it does. I don't know if you guys experience that too. I'm just very happy for where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think Cedar Fair has done a lot to bring back the magic that was lost with Paramount. One thing I would love to see them do is bring back a little bit more theming. I know they're slowly doing it with some of their new rides and stuff, but I think more area theming is needed. I remember going to the park years ago and everything was isolated. I mean, Rivertown was isolated. Hanna-Barbera Land was isolated. Coney Mall was isolated. Adventure Village was isolated. I mean, you have woods and, a good amount of thick woods in between each of them. And it just made the park seem so much bigger back then too.
Yeah, I would have to agree on the theming thing. For me, it's Festhaus, because as a kid, that was the coolest thing ever to be inside there with the stage. And they had some animatronics, I think, a little bit of that, right? If I remember right. But, I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know, like, through the eyes of a kid, I mean, everything looks a little different, but it's not my favorite place to walk into now. And it's air conditioning. I think that's the biggest draw right now, but and La Rosa's Pizza. But I don't know. As a kid or when I was younger, walking in there was just something about it. It felt like you were just transported into a different time. But for me, yeah, it's kind of sad to see like it just doesn't have that same kind of feel anymore.
I think they did a great job. Was it last year or last off season or the last season before that with revamping International Street? It looks great now. Another thing, I agree with Sean. I think a great multi-launch coaster would fit really nice where Vortex was. But yeah, other than that, I think if I had like a 1B, it would be to bring back, Kenton's Keelboat Canal. I think that was all my favorite.
The Aero Hydro Flume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss that. Now we just have that big tan box that sits there and only is used one time a year. So
I don't know if anybody else remembers this or not, but another memory popped in my head, and I wish I still had it, but I know I don't. The recording sound booth thing that you could walk in and record yourself on cassette.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Hot
right?
Tracks.
Hot Tracks. Man, I knew somebody would remember that. Yeah,
you can make
totally
the music
remember doing
videos
that.
and stuff.
Yeah,
there was a recording booth too, I think.
Yeah, this was a recording booth. It wasn't a music video, but you could walk in, you can do your song selection. And I think it was inside one of the stores, but the other side of it, people walking by can see you inside of this booth. And man, I'm trying to think real quick. I was probably somewhere to like 12 years old, my guess. 10, 11, 12 years old.
I know they had it there in 91 because I have a video from Columbus Station WCMH that went down there in 91, and they did that on the episode. I have it uploaded somewhere. So
like at the park.
Yep.
Okay, that's so cool.
He sang Moon River. I know that.
Well, so I sang Under the Boardwalk, and I have no idea why I chose that song. I mean, it could have been Michael Jackson. It could have been like, Prince. It could maybe, I don't know. I don't remember the catalog exactly, but I did Under the Boardwalk.
Yep.
And it was pretty decent, I think. But anyways, just to get that cassette, the technology of that. And I felt like I was on Star Search. It was awesome. For those who remember Star Search.
Yeah,
I do.
Coney Mall back in the day, back in the 80s, was the happening place on the weekend with teenagers. I mean, it's just, I can still envision it in my mind. I mean, it's just, man, the ambiance, it's like, I can hear the music. I can see the lights at night. It's just like, it's something you can't get back, but it's,
Yeah. What about the character drawing? So that is in the same spot it's always been in, right? You know what I'm talking about as you kind of walk up to the right there?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, where the person sits out there, they do the character, like the side profile of you in a kind of a comic way. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I think, characters.
They've always been on that corner right there.
It's always been there, right? For like forever. And And I remember as a kid, again, having my character done, and it's always been in that same spot. So walking into the park today, I look at that spot, and again, I'm immediately taken back to when I was a kid. And it's so awesome that they just keep it there. Kind of a small thing for probably most people, but, brings me back.
Those are the little things that matter, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's also something right there, too, that actually came from Coney, is the water fountain right by the caricatures, right next to Graders.
Oh, yeah.
That water fountain was at Coney Island, and it was transplanted to Kings Island. And
isn't there this weird tradition with some of the younger enthusiasts? They did a few years back where they would ride the last ride of the night on the Beast, and then they would go to that drinking fountain on the way out, and they couldn't end their night. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I heard something like that.
I can't remember what they called it. It wasn't just drinking the fountain. There was a whole thing they did on their vlogs and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I've never even noticed that drinking fountain until that video. Now I see it every time, but
yeah, I just don't drink out of it after seeing birds poop in it. And, it's one of those old ones where the spout's like straight up. So that birds hit that target a couple
inside
times.
Of it.
But to go off Joe's topic, I can agree with seeing how the park has changed from when I started to go, probably in 88, may have been my first trip there, to where it is now, and just seeing that, wow, that used to be something else or an empty spot. I just, like, when Diamondback was added with the Swan Pond that was there and everything like that, it blows my mind how it's changed from back then to now.
Yeah,
That
when
was
you
sad.
think, go ahead, Brian.
I love Diamondback. I love the coaster, but that ripped a hole in my soul when they tore Swan Lake out. That gutted Rivertown pretty bad. I mean, that was the heart and soul of Rivertown.
You should have seen the Swans on media day. They weren't too happy. Every time the splash gun, they do fly. I'm serious. They kept on flying away and get back there and make all these sounds, and they finally left. So
that's sad.
Yeah.
So, some of your favorite memories, what's, maybe your first memory of, like, at the moment that you knew that particular ride, whatever it is, was your favorite. That's the one, like, you always had to go back to. Do you recall that at all, Sean?
Absolutely. And I don't want to say the Beast is my favorite ride. Okay. But quite honestly, I would not be talking to you guys if it was not for that coaster, because that is the ride that broke my fear. And growing up, all those visits I did with my family, I would never ride anything bigger than the Beastie. And I think it was June 16th, 1990. I had just graduated high school, and some friends took me down to Kings Island, and I rode the Beast for the first time. And before that ride was over, I knew I would be doing this for the rest of my life. And I knew Kings Island was going to be not just a park I would go to my family. It was just a whole other thing. And I credit an awful lot to my whole involvement in this hobby to that ride. And that's why it's important to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard several people speak to that. In fact, like, to go from the Beastie to the Beast, right? Working up that courage, that was
now,
definitely the ultimate.
Dare I say, the new Beast?
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome.
We shall see.
Or Son of Beast.
Oh boy.
yeah. I think I was opposite of that though. The Racer is mine. When I was a kid, the Racer was the first coaster I rode. I rode that before I rode the Beastie, Scooby-Doo the Beastie, because I was just that crazy kid that wanted to do crazy things. And it's like, I didn't want to ride the small one. I wanted to ride the big coaster. And that was before the Racer. Before the Beast was there. They were building it at the time. But, so I believe that was, it's like 78 or 79. I rode the Racer. I remember sitting in my dad's lap, my sister sitting next to us. That's when we had buzz bars, and they let parents put small children on their lap. Something that would never fly today.
Yeah, you referenced that in one of our episodes, and you spoke about how your dad put paper towels rolled up into your shoes.
Oh, yeah, that was for King Cobra.
A little taller.
Oh, King Cobra! Wow,
King Cobra. I was like a quarter of an inch too short. So
yeah, so he patted your shoes with paper towels from the bathroom.
Yeah, shame on you, Brian.
I also have to credit the Beast with really getting me into coasters as well, because we would take that was the only park we ever would go to, because we didn't want to drive all the way up to Cedar Point. I didn't even know about it, Cedar Point back then, but so it was always Kings Island. It was always the Beast, the Beast, the Beast. We're riding that over and over until we got tall enough to ride Vortex, which was my first coaster for inversions. And so it was kind of a bittersweet day when that ride came down. Yes, it was getting rough, but it was also just a memory that's, it's always going to be a memory, but it's just something that's not there anymore. But those two coasters I credit with me getting really into coasters.
Yeah, Chris, I would agree with you on the Vortex, because I can remember like my first roller coaster was the Beastie. I think I said that in like the first episode. And I liked, the racer, but I was honestly, I was short, so I couldn't ride the Vortex for a long time. But I was also terrified of it, right? Because as a little kid, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go upside down. And, like there's no way that I'm going to make it out alive if I do it. And I remember the first time I rode the Vortex, it was like, okay, yep, I can do this. This is amazing. And now I'm hooked. So I agree with you, Chris. It was a very, very bittersweet to ride the Vortex one last time.
I'm kind of upset because the year that they announced that it was going to close, we were at the park before they announced it. And I was like, I really should ride this one more time. But I was like, man, I really don't want to have to deal with that headache afterwards. And I'm sad that I ended up not riding it. So now I really regret that.
The closing day, and I don't know if it was just in the air, because I would only ride that thing once a year. Let's face it, it just beat you up a lot of times. And for whatever reason, I rode in the back row, which I usually would ride, but I had an absolutely incredible ride that reminded me of the 90s. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to end it there. I'm not going to try to ride it again, because that was about as perfect ride as I can get. But I don't know if anybody else was here on closing day. I know Brian was, but the strangest thing happened on the last hour of its life. A lot of people have it documented. The sky turned the color of Vortex. It turned purple and orange, just like the supports. And it was the perfect send-off for that ride. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we talk about the Beast, and I would agree again about the Beast being kind of that one where you work up the courage and you feel like a man at that point, right? If you did that, you're set. You know that you're hooked and you're ready to do the others. But what about Flight of Fear? Now, I know, of course, like Beast was around longer and we were younger, right, when we could ride that. But Flight of Fear came a little bit later, I think sometime in late 90s or something, mid to late 90s. Yeah. So I think most of us were growing up then, right?
I waited 6 hours for my first ride for that. The line, they were running one train on Season Pass ERT, and the line went back to Vortex's station. And it took, I got in line at 3 p.m. and got on it at 9 o'clock. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but this is when it had the original shoulder restraints. And I don't mean the padded ones. It had the really hard green things. Mm-hmm. And it was so bad that in the parking lot, I attempted to light my season pass on fire.
Wow.
And I was like, I am never coming back to this park again. Like that ride, I said, it'll be gone in 6 months. And but it goes to show you what a little change, like just removing the shoulder restraints, can do to a ride, because I have no problem riding that now.
Yeah, the inversions on that. It's at a slower speed, so you're upside down longer, right? Am I right in saying that?
It does 4 inversions in the first, I think, 10 seconds of that ride. Mm-hmm. And it does a cobra roll, a kind of a half cobra roll, and then the last, actually it's 3 inversions, and the last inversion's like somewhere down below. It's a corkscrew, but yeah, it's what the top speed's, I think 55 or 60. And back then when that ride was debuted, it was the most intense launch in the world. And then you go up and look at Dragster's launch, and it's exactly twice as much. So 0 to 60 in 4 as opposed to 0 to 120 in 4. And who knows where we're going to go, but yeah, good. Flight of Fear has a special place in my coaster life as well, but it just, I don't know how much longer it'll be there. So
yet Flight of Fear is the one still running.
I mean, and to be honest, I mean, Dragster could technically run.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's broken down.
Right. It wasn't the launch that was the problem, But who knows? I don't know if they went like LSM or they. As a matter of fact, and I'm sure you guys know. I know Brian knows this, but the original propulsion system for Flight of Fear wasn't going to be limbs. It was going to be a flywheel launch, and then the company that made the limbs, Force Engineering, I think the name of the company was. They approached Premiere and said, "Let's do this," or however that works. But yeah, it was supposed to be a flywheel launch originally. Like before they announced it and all that stuff, like when they were talking about the ideas.
One thing about Flight of Fear, I can always remember every time I ride it is that at the very end, when it does that corkscrew, I'm going to not realize which direction I'm coming into the final brake run.
Okay. I've ridden with dozens of people that has happened to, and I am so jealous because it doesn't happen to me, but I've had it happen on another ride once before. So I know what you're talking about. It's just never happened to me on that ride.
Yeah, I feel like
I've seen people hold on
sideways.
Yeah, that's what I've seen people hold on saying, "Why are we sideways?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're right side up." I did a loop, a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop that was partially enclosed in Belgium in 2002, and it launched. You did the loop and did the spike, but when you went backwards in the loop, which was enclosed, they had all these strobe lights that were synced. So when we went through the loop, when we went back to the flat section towards the station, all of a sudden it felt like another spike. And I was looking down. I felt like I was looking down in the station, and all the people standing were, standing vertically.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? What is happening?
Bizarre.
It's a really cool moment.
It really is.
I'm not ashamed to admit that with Flight of Fear, and I think I bring this up to Joe every time we go to the park and ride it, that it was only about 5 years ago that I realized. So if you're listening and you haven't ridden Flight of Fear, when you walk into the queue, it's like you're in this outer space. There's an alien invasion kind of thing, and there's this big spaceship. And it took, like I said, about 5 years ago, I realized it's not an actual spaceship.
Yep,
it's a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, half of a spaceship.
And I just never, and all of a sudden I just remember looking up and being like, oh, that's not real.
So no joke, that day that I spent 6 hours in line, okay, when I got in that room, I saw other people on the other side, and I'm like, oh my God, this spaceship is just a bridge to go into more queue. And then like I kept on passing, and all of a sudden I looked over and saw myself, and I'm like, it's a mirror. We're almost there. So I feel your pain, man. Trust me.
Yep.
It's really smartly done, though. With the way they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And good on Kings Island for keeping that video in the queue line.
Same
working.
video.
So,
Yeah.
classic.
Now, do you guys know why Flight of Fear has the lap bars it has?
No.
Because of Son of Beast. Those were the same restraints as Son of Beast.
Wow.
When they realized they could do an inversion with those lap restraints, like Son of Beast, that's when in 2001, that's when they switched to, they were like, well, then let's just put them on Flight of Fear. They talked to Premiere. But here's the cool thing. I guess that because that was a Paramount design, they worked with Premiere on that lap bar. Any other park that gets that type of restraint design, I think Paramount or somebody gets a little extra cash or however that works because it was a Paramount design. So the Six Flags parks that have that lap bar, Jeff Siebert tried to explain that to me once before, and I didn't really understand it. So, but it's pretty cool that, it's because of Son of Beast, we have those Premiere lap bars.
Wow. That's awesome.
Well, talking about the Kings Island's 50 years of memories.
Rest in peace.
The big 50 celebration is coming up. So, what's your plans for the big 50?
You know what? This is going to sound really lame, but I really don't have any plans. I tour a lot for work, and because the last 2 years there wasn't a lot of traveling going on, and for pretty much everybody, I'm playing a lot of catch up, and so I'm not planning on going to the park a whole lot this year, just because I just don't have the time, and that can change, But I mean, I didn't even buy a season pass yet, so. Mm-hmm. I want to go, obviously. I think I'm 7 months older than Kings Island. So there's that tie as well. So I definitely want to go there and experience some of the 50th, but I don't think I'll be there early in the year. If anything, it'll be in the summer or fall. But like I said, that could change. But I'm happy that they're celebrating it for sure.
Yeah, they're gonna have a big birthday bash on the 27th of April.
Oh, okay.
I believe is it 27th. I think. Yeah. So it's the actual opening day. So I don't know what all they have.
That's got to be. That's got to be a big birthday cake. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hope they roll out the red carpet on that one.
I'm sure they'll do. I mean, that park deserves it for sure.
Wouldn't it be cool if they like brought back like certain characters and stuff? They just all started kind of showing up. I know it'll never happen, licensing and all that, but
hey, you know what? Just go to eBay and try to find a costume and wear it to the park.
Yeah, I'll just do it. Yeah, I will be Scooby-Doo. I don't know.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm excited. It looks like they've done a lot of off-season improvements. A lot of painting, a ton of painting, some curb work, stuff like that.
I think yesterday we were talking about how I think Bynum Painting is making some buku bucks this year.
Oh man, yeah. Dude, no joke. They're going nuts. I mean, all the major parks, and it's the right time to do it, I think, because nobody has a lot of huge spending cash. So little things like that make a big difference as well. There's a bunch of the younger enthusiasts that are still kind of pushing for Son of Beast to return next year. But
you know what I would be really happy with? The return of a sky ride. I think they need to install. I actually talked to Don about this, and he kind of came up with the idea, like the Disney. What's the name of their sky ride?
Oh, the new thing that they just did.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Do one that can actually connect a couple spots in the park, but also where it goes down to see the campgrounds now. Have it go down the street, just like they do in Florida.
Yeah.
I bet you that would bring a lot of people in, but they need a people mover within the park for like older guests.
When was that taken out, Brian? Real quick.
Off season between 79 and 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know I wrote it and I just can't remember. My mom said she would never take us on it because that's when they had to evacuate people or something.
It was down most of the year in 79.
Okay.
But I think they finally took it out in like January or February of 80.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I mean, just look how popular, bringing back the antique cars was.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's always a line for it.
Oh, yeah. You always got to wait. And then, I miss the old one. Don't get me wrong. I got a lot of good memories on that.
Well, that's the second.
But it was so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so popular. So, yeah, bringing some of that stuff back, I think is a, pretty good idea. I know a lot of, like Sean, you mentioned, a lot of, if you go on the pass holders Facebook page, it seems like every week someone's like, when are they bringing back Son of Beast? It'd be cool, I guess, but it's not coming back.
That ride was so terrible. I'm just gonna go say it. I was the biggest Son of Beast cheerleader for many years, not because of the ride, but just the whole enormity of the whole situation. And then I had to stop riding it. I rode it, I think, one time after the loop was removed, and got quite a thrashing, and said, you know what, I don't have to do this anymore. So I never rode it again. Then it closed soon after. But yeah,
it made me bleed. I was like, that's it. I got off the ride. I started pouring blood out of my nose. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm done. If it's that rough, it's making my nose bleed. I was like, I'm done with it.
Yeah,
and that was a year before they closed it.
Yeah, I got one ride with the loop, one ride without, and I said, never again.
I got a couple hundred rides on it with the loop just because I was an extra for video shoots. You just would ride it, several hours. And Jeff Siebert, one of the shoots, it was opening year. He said, I'm going to put you in seat 2-1, which is notoriously the worst seat in the coaster. I'm like, well, why would you do that? And he's like, oh, I know you can handle it. You and a couple of your friends, you guys will handle it. And it was incredible. It didn't beat us up at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I found the sweet seat. This is amazing. And I went back the very next day with some other friends and said, we have to ride in this seat. It's like the magic seat on this train, and got the worst ride I've ever had on it. So I never understood that ride ever. so temperamental.
I would say, if anything, I want Phantom Theater back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they
That's a good
definitely
point.
need a dark ride.
So let's start to wind it down here, guys, if you don't mind. But maybe in closing, we can talk about thinking about some memories here. But yeah, what would be something you would want to see come back?
Phantom Theater.
Phantom Theater.
Enchanted Voyage.
Oh,
That's a good one. I would agree with you there, Brian. Instant nostalgic.
anything.
The
in
other
building.
log flume.
The other log flume.
The big
I
log
can't-
flume.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but I do remember. I love that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
that was
it?
the thing as a kid. It was the little log flume and the big log flume.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what you always called it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was KCKC, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The initials. Okay,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Keelboat Canal, something like that.
there we go. Yeah, Kenneth. I can't remember.
Kitten's Keelboat Canal.
Yep.
I have a map from the park on my wall, but that ride is not on there. Or maybe it is. Maybe I can read. I don't know. I think somebody said it already. So
Sean, thanks so much for being with us here. We
welcome.
truly
Thank you.
appreciate it. It's been awesome to talk with you and have you sharing some of your memories and some viewpoints about the park. And you know, we're all local to Kings Island, so it holds a very special place in our hearts. I'm sure we would all agree with that.
thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, man. So yeah, and for you out there, hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Inside Amusements. And be sure to visit us at InsideAmusements.com. You can follow us on social media, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.